Hello, everyone. We're here at the Miami E-Pre, right, literally in the pit lane. And it's a perfect place to talk about climate action that performs. So literally is the panel in the pits, and it's held by Envision Racing, the greenest team in Formula E, who not only race on the track and talk about race against climate change, they do so off the track. And I have to tell you, literally, this is a cultural value with the Envision team. It's something I witnessed firsthand. Today, we're going to talk about sport, culture, infrastructure, and engineering that drive climate resilience, especially in coastal cities like Miami. Where I know. So I'm Rory Francis, advanced manufacturing and workforce development advocate, and I'm joined by Aidan Gallagher, actor, environmental advocate, and we're going to talk about your journey on climate activism. Quinta Warren. Quinta is with Atlanta's Hartsfield Airport, literally the busiest airport in the world. And we're going to talk about decarbonization at scale. And Professor Landorf Road, and help me out here. There he goes. From the University of Miami. And we're going to talk about marine conservation and technology that make it different. I'm going to jump right in here. I'm going to start with you, Aidan. Your love of the ocean pretty much started this path. Tell us a little about your journey and your passion for real advocacy in climate.
I grew up in Los Angeles, close to the beach, and I have had really awesome parents who would try out a bunch of activities on me, see what I liked, and one of those was surfing. And so I was out on the water a lot, and I would notice, because we were going to the beach so much, that there'd be like trash in the sand. I would notice sometimes trash in my water, and as a kid, you're always asking why, and it sort of grew out of that. You know, it's a strange thing growing up with the internet, but it can also be really amazing because there's all of this information and there's people who know what they're talking about, and there's a brain who's curious and learning and interested in things that, unless you really went after it, without the internet, you just wouldn't know about. And that's sort of where like knowledge and campaigns to try and make a better world meet. And I was on a television show at the time when I was like learning about all of this, and it seemed like a natural thing to try and help.
Quinta, and I actually did say this, you literally work at the world's busiest airport, zero downtime. What does sustainability look like at scale at a facility like that with all the technology and everything that's going on a daily basis? What does sustainability look like there?
So yeah, Atlanta Airport is the busiest and most efficient airport in the world, and we're very proud of that. I think we had 108.1 million people fly through in 2024. And the airport is like a small city. So anything you can think about related to sustainability happens at an airport. Whether it's construction, we have a $12 billion construction program happening. When we build sustainably. When it comes to engaging with the communities around us, we're very active with that. That's like the social pillar of sustainability. When it comes to technology and looking at things like alternative fuels, researching how we can bring things like hydrogen to the airport, or sustainable aviation fuel, or electric vertical takeoff and landing craft, which are the taxis that are electric and can reduce emissions from last mile transportation to the airport. I mean, it's just very exciting. And because we have so many people go through the airport, the impact that we have is huge, right? Because it means that all 108.1 million people who traveled through our airport in 2024 did so in as sustainable a way as we could make it. One of the things I'm proudest of about Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport is the fact that we care about sustainability. And it's not just my team that's working on it. We are for sure the lightning rod, but every team at the airport is somehow involved in sustainability.
Sounds like, well, I'd be amiss to saying a cultural value.
Absolutely. In fact, it's one of the pillars in our strategic goals.
Yeah, kind of picked up on that. That's key. It has to become ingrained in everybody in the facility. That's great, Professor. So Miami's front lines, for climate crisis on the coast. We're surrounded by beautiful beaches here. What are the challenges that are most urgent, and what solutions are you focused at?
Miami's paradise. And I apologize, today is a rainy day in paradise. And as you all know, we're facing some important challenges. We're in a hurricane-prone location that may bring strong winds and storm surge. And when we don't have storms, we might have extreme heat and sunny day flooding. And we should also note we have a substrate which is porous, which makes saltwater intrusion a challenge for us. But we're working on developing solutions that will allow us to maintain Miami and the excitement that Miami has into the future, similar to what Formula E is doing with racing. So at the University of Miami, we have been working to understand climate and its impacts, from the hurricanes to heat. And we've been working on mitigation and adaptation to develop solutions that will allow us to transform Miami. One of the projects that we've been working on is called Sea Hive. This is coastal protection that dissipates the energy of the waves, but at the same time allow us to create a fertile substrate for the local ecosystems. So it can be combined with corals, with mangroves. So we give nature the space to develop while we protect our communities.
Thank you. I think you answered a couple of questions here for me. So we're literally at a sporting event, and we touched a little bit on culture. So sport and culture can reach people where policy and research often doesn't. How do we translate climate science into actions people can actually engage in? Aidan, start with you.
Well, first off, fly through Atlanta. It's going to be the most environmentally friendly. You know, everyone's living their own lives. That they have to find a window that is accessible to them in terms of making a difference. So, it can feel like a big world, and a lot of people tend to turn off. So you got to find something that they can engage with. When you have something structural and big that these brilliant people are in charge of, that sort of gives the public a way that they can interact with fighting climate change in a way that's not anxiety provoking. It doesn't ask too much of them. Like, if you think of it as all or nothing, you just die. It's too much.
Your thoughts, Quinta?
Yeah, I really like that answer, especially the last part. It's not all or nothing. I think we have to be happy with small wins, because I also feel like it's unfair to expect people to commit 100% to something that they don't understand or that's going to cost them without helping them see themselves in that thing. So that's how I approach sustainability at the airport. We have so many teams, and they all have priorities and limited resources. It's not fair for sustainability to ask operations to do things that are beneficial for my team but don't benefit them. So what I've done since joining the airport is I've spent a lot of time with every team, and I've tried to understand what their goals are, what they're trying to achieve, how they run. And then I have worked with them to find overlap between what I'm trying to do and what they're trying to do. And in fact, I have an engineer who I've tasked with calculating the impact of anything that either we do or other teams do tied to sustainability, so that we can amplify those things and help make a better case for those things to happen. For instance, our parking and ground transportation team, they have shuttles. Our fleet team has a lot of vehicles. Some of them are electric, some of the shuttles are electric. So we're running the calculations to help them make the case to get more, because it costs less to fuel and maintain an electric vehicle. And that means that the overall cost, the total cost of ownership, is lower. So having those numbers at hand means that we can make things. There's also resiliency in sustainability, right? If you put in solar panels on a building and the grid goes down, that building still has power because of the solar panels. So then there's an added argument with resilience. So that's kind of how my approach is. And I think even with the general public, it should be the same way. People generally care, very few people will say, I don't care about sustainability. But the question is, so what? And so what for me? Like, what can I do about it? And don't ask me to drive 10 miles to throw away my recycling. Again, I think that it's a little unfair to make it difficult for people to do the right thing.
So I'm listening to both of your answers, and I'm kind of hearing the same message. It's about building a collaborative, environment, collaborative culture. Oh, Professor, so climate change, a lot of the time the conversation can get negative really quick and becomes really doom and gloom. Tell me, what generally excites you about the conversation about our future?
It's definitely not doom and gloom. Not when you have people like this team and this team leading the way. I think these are examples that we have out there that we should mimic. And I think that's the point here. I think that there are solutions that we can use, we can deploy and amplify. And I think the example in the messaging, as Aidan was saying, like, you do the little things that counts. You have to measure what you're doing so that you can see the impact. Understanding how these things are changing the impact that we have to the environment is critical. So from our perspective, developing solutions that can be deployed, that can go from the lab all the way out to the market and have an impact is very important. Innovation right now is another way of understanding how fast we can see the good things translate into something that becomes part of our everyday life. And I think that's the key right now. So I'm excited about this part of development, this part of innovation and technology that can lead what we call a green evolution.
I'm going to ask everybody this question here, and I think we kind of covered it. Real change needs collaboration. We touched on that. Different industries. How do we get sports and infrastructure and engineering all working together at scale? Let me start with Quinta.
I think I would go back to something I stated previously, which is, again, finding the common ground among all of those different, backgrounds or different teams. Sustainability and innovation kind of go together, as an example. So again, we want to try out new things, exciting things that haven't been done before, and Atlanta Airport is very good at that. So if I wanted to see how AI could help improve sustainability at the airport, I think it's a natural fit to go and talk with our IT teams and see what's the newest and latest thing on the market, ways that they could suggest that AI could improve whatever we're doing. Every year we put out an ESG report, so environmental, social governance, and it's sort of a yearbook for the airport. One of the things we struggle with the most is we have to collect data from all around the airport. So we have to go to every single team, and we want data, we want information, we want narratives, and we don't have a centralized collection. And so I literally have to go to every single group and, can you please give me, a list of the receipts that are tied to, fuel or electricity that we bought or all of this stuff. And in some cases, I literally have people taking a picture of a receipt and emailing it to us. That is difficult. And so this year, we've already embarked on the ESG process. We have our IT team shadowing us every step of the way because we want them to map all of this out, tell us how we can do it better, create a centralized data lake if that's possible. If not, how can AI help us? If people send me a PDF that has multiple rows and columns, I just don't want to type that out by hand. How can AI help us? How can AI scrape that data so that we don't have to? So yeah, I think, again, it's a matter of finding common ground. I would say people love to work on exciting projects. So, different teams love a challenge, and we can just find how we can work together.
So you're using technology to iterate and employing continuous improvement.
Exactly.
And same question. I think a little. I know you work a lot of groups globally. What are your thoughts on that subject? How do we get this conversation moving?
Well, it's a big world full of all different types of people. If you get out and talk to them, it seems that you learn. You find these little pockets where you can become more efficient. Like, even if it's something as like the system of gathering up how you journal everything that happened through all these different departments. When that's in place, all of a sudden the next year gets easier to find little windows where you can become more efficient here, more efficient there. For me, the most efficient way that I can help is a social platform to pass on what is a simplified message that someone going through their day can interact with. So, yeah, I think if you just connect people in the world to solve an issue, you're going to have, instead of one person looking at it from one point of view, you're going to have 5 different points of view on the same problem. You're going to find different ways of attacking it, and maybe even find that, okay, this problem actually has a benefit with if we pair these 2 things up, all of a sudden positive, which is a very, very simplistic way of just saying, if you connect the world, it becomes more efficient.
Professor, your thoughts?
I think creating bridges is important. And the messaging has to be true and simple, and it has to talk from the heart. We're all on this because we love this planet. It's our planet, and we love it in different ways sometimes. But I think that we all want to do the right thing at the end of the day. So experiencing this, and sometimes this experience starts with when we are at the beach and we experience the beach, and then we care about the beach, and then we want to learn about the beach. And education in all forms is part of this. But now we're in such a complex world. I mean, we're all connected, and the challenges that we're facing are so complex that we need to work together. The different departments need to talk to each other. People need to talk and connect. And again, some of the solutions that we have come from different fields, different industries that connect, that find ways to amplify or become more efficient. So I think there is something there that we can tap into. And at the end of the day, though, it's all about the people that make the difference. So if we have the right people, that's the key for me.
Bridges. That's not really, to me, it sums it up, building bridges. And that's a great way to end. I want to thank our panelists so much. That's all we have time today. Best of luck to Envision tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.